What I'm fascinated by is how this regime just really not monolithic and hasn't been. 1980 to 1988, I keep going back to the Iran-Iraq war, 500,000 people died. Everyone's on Saddam's side. I mean, everybody. Soviet Union and America are aligned together against Iran. How does Iran respond after 1988? Do they triple down on isolation? Well, actually, no. They take their licks and they proceed with actually a period of opening to the rest of the world in the 1990s, which is weird because they did also support terrorism at the same time. So you have the Buenos Aires attack as an example, which clearly was linked to Iranian regime and Hezbollah. But the presidency of Rafsanjani was quite moderate in the 90s. And it led to some opening with the rest of the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if your first scenario where the regime survives, which is your base case, also includes a domestic internal pivot. I mean, look, if you're a member of the Iranian elite right now, first of all, you got completely punched in the face. Second of all, you're looking around the region. What are other countries doing? They're taking account of their demographics. Like Saudi Arabia woke up one day and was like, look, I mean, 70% of the country is under the age of 35. Like, what are we doing here? And so I could see a similar sort of, not North Korea scenario, but rather the opposite. Taking a page out of the 1990s, where President Rafsanjani was actually quite, like, not liberal, but quite reformist. He actually ended up supporting the 2009 opposition, which cost him obviously his political career.
But I think what happened to Egypt over the second half of the 20th century is actually somewhat explanatory. You can explain the opening in the 1990s because of the unique nature of the Iranian Revolution, which was they set up parallel political structures. There was the clerics protected by the IRGC. The job of the IRGC is literally to protect the revolution. Now they've expanded into Hezbollah and everything else, but their original purpose was protect the revolution. And then you had quote unquote democratic elections in Iran, and you have civilian politics, and they are not the same thing. And the IRGC was always supposed to be separate from that. And what happened beginning with President Ahmadinejad was that the IRGC started metastasizing into all these other arenas of the Iranian state and economy that they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to stay in their box and protect the clerics and protect the virtue of the revolution. Then they slowly started swallowing businesses, the economy, even like the external military functions that were supposed to be with the Iranian military. And you get to the point where the IRGC controls like something to 50 to 60% of the Iranian economy by most estimates right now. So no matter what happens, unless you kill all the IRGC, which is not possible, the IRGC is going to be there. And I make the analogy to Egypt because think of what started in Egypt with Gamal Abdel Nasser, a coup, a charismatic politician who gives this Arab nationalism and socialism, and he dominates for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it was. But when he dies, eventually Sadat is assassinated because he makes peace with Israel. It's the Egyptian military that takes over. Now, Nasser was a military officer himself, but when you look at Egypt today, it's a military dictatorship and one that is relatively stable, but the military is calling the shots. I think that's maybe the model here if you're the IRGC. It's like, we've already taken over the economy, thanks to A-Dog. Now we've got all these other things. The supreme leader's about to die. We'll put in a figurehead. We are going to dominate. And once we no longer have to watch our backs and we're completely in control of this, we can behave like Egypt does today. We can go out and deal with the world in general. Like that I think is a path forward for them.
And that's the irony, Jacob, because General Soleimani, who was assassinated by the US, was on his way to doing that. I mean, there were rumors he was going to run for presidency. He was extremely popular just in Iran in general, charismatic guy, very successful in the insurgency against the US in Iraq. So then he was assassinated and IRGC kind of lost that face. But you're right, there are many others. There was a mayor of Tehran, I forgot his name, who was also IRGC commander in the past life. There are models of this that can definitely emerge.
It doesn't matter who it is. It's an institutional dictatorship rather than this weird bifurcated, half democratic, half theocratic thing. So I think the Iranian Revolution dies with Ali Khamenei, and it becomes like a military dictatorship, just like any other military dictatorship in the world.